If you're on Twitter, you might have seen this coming, because today I wanted to give a big, juicy shout-out over to Sapster, aka Edward. He is one of the best EA Sports NHL players on the planet. But that's not why we're making a video about him today. You see, Sap goes out there and frequently makes tweets about the Vancouver Canucks. And earlier yesterday, he dropped the absolute atomic bomb of Vancouver Canucks-related lore over the past few years, compiled it all into a mega post. Sorry, Elon, this is above 240 characters long. And if you ever wanted to understand why Canucks fans are disappointed, frustrated, they're canceling their season tickets like Canuck Clay, then this is the video for you. Okay, pause. That's not really why Canuck Clay is canceling his season tickets. I just said it because I thought it would sound cool. Still love Clay. Absolutely love Clay. But let's dive into this post made by Sapster that dives into just so much of the problems with this team. At the end, it says, Francesco, buddy, you gotta sell it. Here's the mega post. The Canucks drafting and trading for a great group of players and developing none of them into leaders except the guy they traded first, which was Bo Horvat, that's hilarious. Let's talk about leadership and whom it is the Canucks brought in that can fill those roles. First, you have Elias Pettersson, an introvert who acknowledges he isn't really vocal. That guy's not really a leader. JT Miller was brought in via trade. He's prickly, had multiple issues with different players in Vancouver. He leads New York to a bottom 5 pick. He's not a leader either. Quinn Hughes, articulate, but not a leader in the community, and he didn't really do too much in the locker room either. Not a leader. Oh, but how do you know that he didn't do too much? He was the captain of the gosh darn team, man, and he had 2 of his best players under him fighting for a whole season and a half. Like, okay, not a leader, we'll just leave it at that. Filip Hronek, the most prickly with the media. Vocal, but he was already a finished product, more or less, in Detroit. I think, based off of the way media talks about Filip Hronek, there are a lot more conversations nowadays about him being a leader and stepping up in this trying time for the team, actually guiding the younger folks and doing things that we didn't really heard he was doing over the past few years he has been in Vancouver. Ironically, of course, ever since he had gotten traded over from Detroit with that draft pick that was traded for Bo Horvat. Thatcher Demko, prickly with fans and media at times, but he wants to be here, according to Kevin Woodley. Maybe not really a leader either. You have Brock Boeser too, the most in touch with the fanbase right now. He elevates his game in late season play and in playoff games more than anyone else currently on the team, but his play disappears for long stretches and becomes invisible. For better or for worse, we'll just say he's not a leader. And then you have Bo Horvat, who was acquired, of course, a long time ago. He was Mike Gillis, 2013, back in the Corey Schneider trade days. Bo was good with the media, wasn't the most physically involved in scrums, but was always in touch with the Canucks fan base, and he elevated himself in the clutch. He was the last captain to play with Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Sap writes here, it's almost like in order to create new leaders, you need to have an organization full of great leaders to show the young guys the ropes. Here is what the Canucks leadership group has looked like, with the moves that ownership and management have done since the Sedins left. First, the Canucks let Edler and Tanev go in back-to-back off-seasons, players who became leaders under the Sedins. They laid off 25% of their business staff in July 2020 and went from 200 to 45 full-time business staff by November 2020. They reduced employee wages 3 times in 3 months to the point where most employees were only being paid 65% of their initial salary and had to utilize the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy. The Canucks also let important pieces walk and replaced them with budget pieces. For example, Chris Tanev and Tyler Toffoli left in 2020 for $8.75 million combined, and the Canucks replaced these guys with Virtanen, Holtby, Pullman, all of whom were bought out or put on the LTIR. The Canucks then fired Travis Green and Jim Benning, which was needed at the time, and replaced them with Boudreau and Rutherford without conducting a formal search. And they didn't even tell JR about Boudreau's contract. The Canucks let Jim Rutherford run a half-assed GM search where he ended up hiring just the guy he had in Pittsburgh and Alvin. The Canucks treated Boudreau like garbage, publicly, then they fired him. And following that, they told Bo Horvat they were going to re-sign him too, before pivoting to JT Miller and then trading Bo Horvat, even though Miller was the problem at the time. Now, in the Canucks' defense, and I don't really like defending the Canucks too much, but I don't really know if a lot of us thought that Miller would have been as bad as he turned out to be over time. I mean, he had a 100-point season. A lot of people loved him in that year, but it became sour quick. The Canucks then extended Elias Pettersson against the coach's wishes, traded away his best line mate in Kuzmenko, had him play through knee tendonitis, lied about the injury, and then told Miller and Hughes to toughen him up. I think the contract at the time was fine, even if his production since has been abhorrent, furthering locker room dissension. The Canucks then failed to retain Rick Tocchet, who, despite being disliked by Canucks fans, was valuable enough to Rutherford to treat Boudreau like dirt. They hired Adam Foote to try and keep Quinn Hughes, a guy who was clearly out of his element, but right now, it seems like the Canucks are unwilling to move off of that mistake. The Canucks are furthermore going to hire another rookie GM without doing a full search because JR wants to keep a lot of control. Whether or not that's a Ryan Johnson or somebody else, it does seem like a new GM could be on the cusp of coming in, with Patrick Allvin being promoted to an assistant president role. That doesn't even include all the staff that have arrived and left rather quickly, some suddenly, like Derek Clancy, Rachel Dory, and the horrible medical staff, having 4 head coaches, 12 assistant coaches, and their inability to develop high-skilled prospects, plus the lack of practice facilities. All of this, and the Canucks have increased their season ticket prices by 44% since 22-23. Leadership starts at the top with ownership. Bad ownership has bad presidents in both the business and hockey ops department, and they hire puppet underlings, treat their subordinates like garbage, use them as fall guys, and that creates apathy and anxiety in employees, which trickle down into the workplace, locker room, and the fan base as a whole. Francesco Aquilini, sell the team. I actually replied to this. Holy buddy, you went in. And I love how Sap eloquently replies to me personally. The guy's a great person with words. He's very eloquent in the way that he writes. I'm pissed off, man. 14 years of ineptitude and darkness with 2 sprinkles of light, one thanks to the pandemic, another fueled by unsustainable health and rush shooting, spursed in. I look back on Shorthouse's "Enjoy the future, folks," quote, no longer as symbolic of change, but instead it's representative of the issues that plagued this franchise from top to bottom. Not Shorty's fault, obviously. How can we enjoy the future if we can't trust the people in charge of looking into it? And I said the same thing. The contrast between excitement from that overtime shift versus LA with Quinn, Petey, and Boeser, and the gloom of today is something out of a dramatic novel. That's kind of how it feels like. The way the Vancouver Canucks have gone through this dissension. They have gone up all the way down to the bottom. They are the worst team in the league by far. And the issues with leadership, the issues with management, the issues of getting younger and not really fully committing to the bit. This is where we start to see people speaking out about whether or not it's appropriate for the Canucks to go down the way that we think they're going to go down. Reporting from Thomas Drance the other day saying that they might trade their seconds and their thirds for young prospects that can help out the team and play in 2026, 2027. Is that the right way to go about it? Do you want to go out there and get other Eric Bronstroms and Daniel Sprongs and Jack Studnickas and whatever? There are so many guys that the Vancouver Canucks have tried to get onto their team because they're young-ish, and they just sucked, instead of just using the draft picks, waiting, and then having them become their own thing long-term. Whether or not you agree or disagree with the idea that Vancouver has been bad at developing leadership or bad at keeping leadership based off of some of the people that they ended up letting go, and the way they've treated their executives, at the end of the day, what's the common denominator here? It's us fans, yes, but it's also the guy at the very top, Francesco Aquilini, buddy. What's going on?
Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The bomb has been dropped on Vancouver. Thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99. And bye.